The sound that froze Jack Carter in place wasn't a scream or a cry for help. It was laughter, sharp and careless, spilling out from behind the half-closed door of Class 3A. And the moment he heard it, something deep inside his chest tightened harder than it ever had in combat. Jack stood in the hallway with his service dog Rex pressed calmly against his leg, one hand still gripping the strap of his worn duffel bag, when he leaned just enough to see inside the room, and what he saw felt like a direct hit to the heart. His daughter, Emily, stood at the front of the classroom, balancing awkwardly on her metal prosthetic leg while leaning on her crutches, her small shoulders shaking as she tried not to cry. And in front of her was the teacher, ruler raised, face twisted with irritation instead of care, pointing straight at the little girl as if she were a problem that needed correcting instead of a child who needed protection. Before we begin, don't forget to hit like, repost, or share, and subscribe. And I'm really curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Back to the story. The teacher's voice was loud, mocking, filled with a cruel patience that made it worse, and every word landed like a slap as she criticized Emily for being slow and distracting, asking the class if learning should stop just because one student couldn't keep up. A few kids looked uncomfortable, some stared at their desks, but others laughed, real laughter, the kind that echoes, and each burst made Emily's lip tremble harder until tears finally spilled down her cheeks. Jack's knuckles turned white as memories of battlefields flashed through his mind, yet nothing he had faced overseas compared to this moment, because war was honest about its violence, but this was humiliation dressed up as discipline, cruelty hidden behind authority, and it was being inflicted on the one person he would give his life for without hesitation. Rex sensed the change instantly, his ears lifting, body tense but obedient, eyes fixed on Emily as if he understood exactly who needed him most, while Jack forced himself to breathe, to stay still, to truly see everything before he acted. Emily tried to answer a question, her voice barely audible, stumbling as she shifted her weight, and when her crutch slipped slightly, the laughter grew louder instead of stopping, until the teacher snapped at her to stand properly, as if that were a choice Emily had ever been given. Jack felt something crack open inside him, a slow, burning realization that this wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a pattern, a daily, quiet cruelty happening right under the town's proud smiles and clean school banners. This woman was praised at church, admired at town meetings, trusted with children, and yet here she was, tearing down a wounded child in front of her peers. And Jack understood then that walking away would be a betrayal far greater than any order he had ever disobeyed. He stepped closer to the door, heart pounding, not yet ready to reveal himself, because a soldier learns to observe before acting, and a father learns when it's time to stop watching and start protecting. As the morning sun spilled gently across the hallway floor, Jack Carter made a silent promise to his daughter, one that would change everything inside that classroom very soon. Jack Carter pushed the door open fully, and the soft click of the handle sounded louder than a gunshot in the sudden pause that followed, because every laugh died mid-breath and every head turned at once. The teacher stopped speaking, her ruler frozen in the air, as Jack stepped inside with Rex moving perfectly at his side, calm but commanding, the kind of presence that didn't need words to announce danger. Jack didn't raise his voice, didn't rush forward, and didn't look angry in the way people expect anger to look, because the most dangerous calm he had ever learned was the one that comes before justice. He walked straight to Emily, knelt down despite the weight in his injured knee, and gently wiped her tears with his thumb, telling her that she was brave, that she was strong, and that she had done nothing wrong. Emily's breath hitched as she clung to his jacket, the familiar smell of leather and cold air grounding her, and Rex lowered himself beside her, pressing his warm body against her leg as if to remind her she wasn't alone. Jack then stood slowly and finally faced the teacher, his eyes steady, voice clear, and filled with something far heavier than anger. He asked her to repeat exactly what she had just said to his daughter, not as a threat, but as a request that carried the weight of accountability. And when she stammered, suddenly unsure, Jack nodded as if that answer told him everything he needed to know. He spoke about dignity, about how real strength is measured by how we treat those who are already carrying more than most adults ever will. And he reminded her that authority without compassion is just cruelty with permission. The classroom was silent, not a chair scraping, not a whisper, as Jack turned to the students and told them that laughing at someone's pain is easy, but standing up for them is what defines who you become. And those words landed deeper than any punishment ever could. One by one, the children's expressions shifted, shame replacing amusement, and a small boy in the front row quietly said he was sorry, followed by another, until Emily's shaking slowed and her shoulders finally relaxed. The principal arrived moments later, drawn by the tension, and the truth spilled out quickly, because cruelty rarely survives daylight. The teacher was escorted out, her reputation collapsing under the weight of what had been hidden for too long, while Jack refused praise or applause, focusing only on Emily as he helped her stand tall again. Outside, the sun felt warmer, the air lighter, and Emily smiled for the first time that day as Rex wagged his tail, proud and steady. Jack knew battles would always exist, but some fights matter more than all the rest, and as they walked away from the school, he understood that protecting his child had healed something in him too, because sometimes the bravest thing a veteran can do isn't fight a war, but stand up quietly and say, "Enough." This story touched millions of hearts. If it touched yours, let us know with a like, comment yes, and subscribe or follow for more amazing stories like this.